Today, we're talking Wi-Fi, and this has to be the best Wi-Fi solution you can get for your home. The Netgear Orbi WiFi 6E series is available now in Australia, and I've got all the details. So, it's a big box, and that's because it's a triple system, router and 2 satellites. In fact, the best I can see at the moment, there's no router and satellite option. Now, I'm going to tell you from the start, this is the most expensive Wi-Fi system you could possibly get for your home, but it's also, without question, the best. And let me tell you why. Let's get rid of the box, although it's impressive on its own because you start to get this golden tinge to all the packaging because gold standard Wi-Fi, that's what we're talking about. So these are gorgeous. They are taller than previous Orbi systems by about probably 3 or 4 centimeters, just by line of sight looking at them. And they have this follow on from the previous generation Wi-Fi 6, but with this beautiful golden tinge. And by the way, on the Netgear website, you can buy them directly. They come with a black option. And I've got to tell you, I think it does look pretty sleek. Now, straight out of the box, you're going to see this online, $2,799. That's a lot of money. And we've seen the prices of Wi-Fi routers go up because of the technology involved. We're not talking about just, a plug into the NBN and router system here. We're talking about a whole of home Wi-Fi system, which is what Orbi has been for many years. But where are we going with it and why is it different? Well, let's start with the headline, which is Wi-Fi 6E. Now, Wi-Fi 6E is a new style of Wi-Fi. It's one level above Wi-Fi 6, and I'll tell you why. And I'm going to use the word E for exclusive. I don't know what the E stands for, but we're going to call it E for exclusive. Imagine you've got really, really old devices, like smart home devices, circulating on your Wi-Fi network. And then you've got some great new devices that are on the 5 gigahertz or even Wi-Fi 6, and they're all circulating together. Traditional high-end mesh systems are tri-band. So there's a 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi spectrum, there's a 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi spectrum in your home, and then there's a third Wi-Fi spectrum that is being used for these to communicate with each other in your home. And so what happens is your old devices connect to the 2.4, your new devices on the 5, and then the backhaul network for the devices to connect to each other and back out onto the internet. These are quad band. Now, that means there's another set of Wi-Fi signals in your home. And the old superhighway analogy is actually perfect here, because if you think of the Wi-Fi traffic in your home as the freeway. Now, go to LA, they'll show you a freeway. In fact, I reckon the Brisbane to Gold Coast freeway is probably the best Australian example, maybe Tullamarine now, but there's not really anything in Sydney like it in terms of serious numbers of lanes. And let's go rightio. We know that the slow traffic, they do a good job of keeping to the left. Great stuff, thank you. They're there, but they still, when there's a lot of cars on the road, they still cause things to slow down. Faster cars, they use that middle lane or maybe that third lane. And maybe, just maybe, you've got a 4th lane, and that's where kind of Wi-Fi 6 kicked in. You started to get more bandwidth, more lanes of traffic, and more ability to push the traffic through. But you always had the slow traffic as a part of that. So you could have a device drifts over to the right lane and starts to bring things backwards. Quad band, Wi-Fi 6E, it's like the bus lane, okay? The T2 lane. Those exclusive lanes, the HOV they call it in America, but those exclusive lanes, those are the ones that are slightly different altogether. So in this case, Wi-Fi 6E devices get their own exclusive lane. So you've got an exclusive lane that is the backhaul between these devices. So these 2 satellites communicating with this router, they've got exclusive traffic on a lane of their own. Fantastic. Then your Wi-Fi 6E devices have their own exclusive lane as well to communicate with these devices, whichever one they're connected to. And all the rest, they're connecting to one of these satellites or router, and they're using that remaining 2 bands to travel together, to communicate together. And that means your best, newest devices, like brand new Samsung phones, a lot of laptops now have Wi-Fi 6E, that's out of this park, giving you great speeds. In my testing, and I've got gigabit internet, I'm paying for 1,000 meg and normally get about 900, sometimes 800, 600, depending on what we're doing in the home and what's happening out on the internet as well. Easily getting that 600 to 700 everywhere in the home. everywhere. the whole home, every bit of the internet I'm paying for is available. And that's what you want. What's the point of paying for fast internet to come into your NBN and then connecting to something that's not delivering that throughout the whole home? And because there's 3 of these, you are getting huge coverage. I think it's something like 800 square meters, but it's enormous. In fact, it's probably too much. I would hazard to guess a lot of homes could do with just 2. But the third one just means you're pushing right into the edges, right into the corners of the home, probably into the backyard too. And that's what I've done, is I've just pushed this a little bit further along the house, so we're getting that complete solution all the way into the backyard. So Ed with the robot lawnmower, perfect Wi-Fi reception. So Wi-Fi 6E gives you that exclusivity, and I think it's worth paying for. But this is a lot of money. So let's talk about who else this is targeted at. And frankly, it's me. When I connected this, all my devices, what I do is I use the exact same SSID, so all my devices just reconnect. And I'll be honest, it took a couple of days for all the smart home devices to truly reconnect. In fact, I had to tweak the 2.4 gigahertz network to be a specific channel instead of auto. Once I did that though, everything reconnected and it was awesome. And we're talking about having 72 devices on a normal day connected. In fact, when you enable the Netgear Armor, which is a security protection layer for your home through the Orbi system, it scans every device that connects. We've had this running for 2.5 weeks, 120 devices in our home, or have been into our home. If you think about maybe 5, 10 guests, kids have come around with their iPads or whatever, let's call it, there's just 100 odd just in our home that when they're turned on and off, on average, we're talking about 70 devices. And here's the best thing. The best thing. On the back end of this now is the ability to set up an exclusive 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz IoT network with its own SSID, so that you can connect those smart lights and all those things like vacuums that are annoyingly unable to really truly connect to mesh systems in an instant. So you've got an IoT network for your 2.4 gigahertz devices and your 5 gigahertz, but exclusive 2.4, so it's easy to find. And that Netgear Armor will scan those devices as they come in, and you can allocate them per person. You can have screen time allocated to your kids. It's awesome. Now, the back end, 192.168.1.1 kind of web system hasn't changed much in a very long time. It's a pretty old school UI. It is my #1 piece of feedback. I'd love to see it really truly refreshed so the average person can really jump in and use it. It is user friendly, but it's just a bit old school. Now, the app, on the other hand, which is what most people would use, is brilliant. It's from setting it up, through to setting up that armor protection, through to doing internet tests, speed tests, and all that stuff. The app is brilliant. So the question is, $2,799, is it worth it? Now, let's look here. We're getting 4 Ethernet ports on the back of the router. We're getting 4 on the satellite, and we're getting 4 on the other satellite. So there's a lot of Ethernet connectivity here as well, which is important, and you can create Ethernet backhaul so that you're not using that quad band for the backhaul, which just gives you a better connection if that's an issue for you in your home. I mean, it's a struggle to say that it's worth it for $27.99. But if you're like me and you have so many devices in your home, then it's kind of mad not to be investing in the underpinnings of that home. This is how all those devices now and into the future are connecting to the internet. So you kind of need to look at it and go, this is a fundamental utility in the home. And there is many years of life in this thing. And I'm not saying if you've got an Orbi system from 4 years ago, you need to upgrade at all. In fact, our Orbi system has been performing beautifully. I'm just taking advantage of much better new features like the IoT network, now the 6E device network. I'm taking advantage of better connectivity. And when you talk about kids and their gaming and latency and things like that, it becomes very important with your Wi-Fi network. This is the bee's knees of Wi-Fi systems, without any question. And it will be a challenge for you to justify in your mind the $2,799 price. But it's absolutely worth it because the speed in every corner is there. And really the only negative we can give you here is price. And if I could have my way, I'd really update that back-end UI. I'm blown away by what they're able to push these boundaries every single year. But this one is a system that's going to outlast me for a long time, I reckon. The Netgear Orbi Wi-Fi 6E devices, the 9 series. You can tell the RBKE963 9 series. So 953, there's all different code names, but essentially the 9 series is the Wi-Fi 6E, and you've got your 8 series and different down the line. There's a lot of options at every price bracket, and there's also some great prices on even last year's Wi-Fi 6E availability. So check out what you can do for your home, because most people's internet problems are solved by just getting better Wi-Fi.